Hello and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to yet another session of inspiring conversations. And today I promise you that you will be blown away because I think I have a man made of mind steel. You get yeah, mind steel. But just to go through the things that we have to go through, welcome to this live stream. We are live from Iceland, and my guest, he sits in the UK. As usual, try to subscribe. No, please subscribe to the YouTube channel or Spotify or meet us on LinkedIn or Facebook or just find us via Dr. Google and Mr. Bing. Dr. Google and Mr. Bing. Hands-on coaching, inspiring conversations. And now let's do some reminding of why this podcast is. So inspiring conversations. It's all about creating conversations that really matter. We are diving into ways to connect deeply, break down barriers, and build moments that inspire trust and growth. Whether it's with your team at work or in your everyday chats, we will bring more positivity, realness, and impact into every conversation. And as I mentioned, and I have said many times before, we are live from Kópavogur, which is a city next to the capital, Reykjavik, and I live close to the ocean. So I'm happy with that. But let's go on to the guest. No, that was completely and utterly wrong. Our guest today has surprisingly written a book. So his book is called Free to Lead, Unleash Your Hidden Leadership Genius. And his name is Will Steele. That's why the man of Mind Steel. But in order to have a proper introduction, I want to show you a video from his website. And he has so many things in that video in 3 minutes that we can talk about the video for 1 hour, I think. So let's see the video and hope I will not do some damage with it.
Hi there, my name's Will Steele and I am the author of Free to Lead, Unleash Your Hidden Leadership Genius. And I'm very excited to introduce you to the book. Welcome to the page here where you can get information about the book. You can download a video of me working with people so you can get an idea of how to, as you go through the book and get the exercises, you can work through them for yourself. If you need any additional support, there's email addresses and links on this page that you can press on and contact us, and we'll do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. This book it's taken me 14 months to write the book. I've been doing this work for 27 years. I didn't want to just write a book. I wanted a book that people could use for years. They could go back to and go, oh, what's going on with me right now? Okay, wait, I remember that in the book. Let me go back to that. Oh, right. And then do the exercise and get yourself empowered, get yourself developed, get yourself what you need to be free to lead, but it's free to live life, free to love, free to communicate, free to really be yourself. So even if you're not a leader, someone with a leadership position, this book will set you free. This book will give you power. You become a certain way in life. You become the you that you now refer to as you, which is a smaller version of the real you. And we're going to unpack that and set the real you free so you can be the fullest version of yourself in the world. The book's in two parts. The first part is unwrapping all of this like automatics and revealing the limiting beliefs that you're functioning inside of, that you don't even necessarily know you're functioning inside of. Reveal all of that to free you up. And now you're all freed up, and that's the end of part one. You can now look at part two. Part two is about creating from this place your authentic leadership, creating who you are as a leader that fits your true essence, your true self. I use the word fitra quite a lot in the book. I was introduced to it in the Middle East, and it really captures what I'm trying to give people access to with the book, which is truly being themselves and leading authentically as that self in the world. So enjoy the book. There's lots of anecdotes, there's lots of stories, there's lots of shares all to it. Bring it to life to make it a real book, a real story book. You know, I've written it, rewritten it, split it into two parts, rewritten it, and rewritten it. Because I want you to have the best of me. My whole 27 years of experience, I've led to over 90,000 people around the world, and I want you to have all of it concentrated in this book for you. So enjoy the book. Let me know how it goes for you. I'd love to hear what results you produce from reading the book, and good luck.
Yes, that was a lot to take in. And now the guest of honor. Yay! Will Steele. So, when I saw the video, I just thought he must be. There are loads of promises, and you must be so self-confident that it's unbelievable how you how did you. I think you I would never dare, but in 27 years you must have some experience.
Yep.
Yep. That was a very humble yep.
Well, when you lead a program to 1,000 people who all disagree with you for 2.5 days until they finally see what you're trying to get them to get, and it's all been translated into a foreign language, in that case was Thai. I was in Bangkok, 1,000 people, and disagreed with it. They didn't want to follow the rules. They, who are you to tell us? And for 3 days, it's like that. And then all of a sudden it flips and they go, oh, man, oh, no. When you can handle yourself in that environment, that intense environment of no agreement until agreement is reached and they see themselves in what you're saying, when you do that 400 times, like 3.5 days at a time, all over the world, day in, day out, week in, week out, you just know what you're talking about. I mean, we're talking about human being. I'm not trying to pretend something. And I know about human being without having the answers. You have all the answers. We just got to get what the real question is, which comes from you. So it's not me like a person. It's me as in representing years of training and being through it myself and putting myself in an arena where you basically can get torn apart. Everything that's not authentic can get seen, exposed, examined, looked at, transformed. To be in that environment for as long as I was in that environment is like I'm blessed to have had that. It's not comfortable, and most people, I don't know, most people wouldn't do that because I know they don't do that. I've seen it. I've seen people last a day. I've seen people last 6 weeks. I've seen people last 6 months. Mostly it's 6 months. and they just can't be in that environment. But I'm blessed. I had I would say, a fairly tough upbringing in a tough environment. And then I was in the military, and so I've had discipline. And even then, it was all insufficient to be who I needed to be to lead a program, 1,000 people all disagreeing with you until they actually get what you're trying to say. But it all comes together, You can't do it on your own to get to that place. It takes, the saying is, it takes a village to produce a forum leader, and it does. It takes a lot of work from a lot of people to get you to a place where you can walk to the front of a room and really just be there for those people. There's nothing going on.
I was just playing, like, because when I saw the video, I was just like, he must be a man of steel. A very bad joke with your name, but
Yeah.
but then I thought, well, he must have something, like he must have a mind steel. Like it is just like, but you have to go. We can't just jump into you being in front of thousands of people and they are all like shitting on you or throwing vegetables at you and whatnot, because how did you get here? Because this is, you are a man of confidence, and that you show that, like you, because you can literally tell you really believe what you're saying. And that is something, like you can tell when people are like, maybe when I'm doing something, then people are like, are you quite sure that you like, and like, because you have these self doubts. So how did you go from the military? I gather that you were a young man in the military. So, and that is like, how what is your process? Where is it that you, like in the military, you learn certain things because that is a discipline and like trusting on your partners or fellow mates in the army. But what is your educate, or how did you become the man you are today?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long story. Obviously, it's a lifetime. But basically, to be a pilot in the Royal Air Force, you need to be an officer. So you have to do officer training. And I mean, I wasn't somebody who wanted to fly airplanes. I was never even thought about it, never even considered it. It wasn't something that was available to somebody like me coming from, Yorkshire, having delivered milk as a kid and then became an engineer and then finally got into university. And then at university, he said, come and join the University Air Squadron. I'm like, what's that? He said, well, we train you to fly 65 hours. And I said, well, hang on, what's the catch? You don't give 65 hours of flying training. I mean, what's happening? Hang on, that's like £100. That's a lot of money, man.
Huh?
Yeah, well, we get enough people who join the Air Force at the end of it. And if you don't, it's fine. You've become a friend of the Air Force, So it's all good public, what do you call it? PR. It's all good PR for the Air Force.
Yeah.
I went, oh, okay. Well, do you think I'd get in? And they said, yeah, sure. I said, okay, I didn't quite believe them. I didn't think I had the background. I hadn't been to public school. But I got in. And I started flying at university. Probably did too much flying, more flying than studying for sure. And then there was just one day we were flying in a 3-ship, like 3 airplanes, right, in formation, close formation. And I was like, this is amazing. And what? Hang on, you get paid to do this? Okay, that was it. I put my papers in. That's it. I'm going to be a pilot in the Air Force now. That's it. Done. And I became a pilot. And then to go and actually be a pilot, first you have to do officer training. So I went to Royal Air Force College, Cranwell, and I got some, advice from the guys that had been through before that I knew at university. He said, yeah, look, just keep your head down, stay quiet, don't speak out, don't stand out, just get through flying training. Officer training, and then you can start your flying training. You just got to do it. Okay. So I kept my mouth shut, kept quiet, kept my head down. And after 16 weeks of running around carrying pine poles and all these exercises, the flight commander brought me in his office. He said, look, Steele, you're like a ghost. You don't show up. I mean, you're an officer. If you're an officer, you have to tell people what to do. You can't just not say anything. I cannot recommend you for graduation. So you got two choices. You can leave the Air Force, or you can do the course again. I'm like, oh, I've just done 16 weeks, right? I've done it. I'm done up to here with it. And then now I've got to do it again. Okay, well, I want to be a pilot, so I have to do it. So I'll just do it again. Okay. And I go back to my room and I went, oh, well, shit. And I came trying to be what I thought I'm supposed to be like, and it just didn't work. Right, that's it. This time, I'm just going to be myself. I am going to be myself and let the chips fall where they do. And I graduated 18 weeks later with a leadership trophy. So I like, oh, that's interesting, isn't it? When you stop trying to be what you think people think you should be, and you just be yourself, it seems to work. Now, so that's the first piece of evidence. There's something here, right? There's something available.
Yeah.
And anyway, I go through my flying training. I become a pilot in the Air Force. I do that. And I came out and be an airline pilot. I didn't like that. It just felt like being a bus driver, but with wings. You know, I was waiting a lot. The only bit of fun was to see how early you could get back home. So if you fly to Milan from Birmingham and you're going to get back to Birmingham, it's like, how soon can you turn it around? How soon can you get back? You know, full throttle to get home early. Maybe you make it home 15 minutes earlier than the schedule. Great.
Yeah.
That was it. That was it. The rest of the time, you're sitting around waiting, getting delayed, waiting for passengers. I'm like, well, just leave them. I mean, just leave them. Why, if they're shopping in duty free, why are we waiting? All these people here waiting because somebody can't get on the airplane.
Let's teach them a lesson.
Yeah, I wasn't made to be an airline pilot. That's for sure, right? I mean, I did it, but and around that time, I did this program called the Landmark Forum, and it knocked me out. And I watched. It was more the results that people had, not me personally. It didn't seem like I thought I was in the wrong room. You know, there's all these people here. I mean, I hope that nobody here knows me because they'll think there's something wrong with me. But I was so arrogant, and my first insight was how superior I was and how I thought I was better than everybody else. And those were the people I didn't like the most. Oh man, I'm so judgmental. This is horrible. Which is actually a very good insight, because if you see something like that you haven't been able to see about yourself, you've got some access to something. It doesn't sound like good news, but it's like bad news, good news. That's a really great insight. It's my first insight. Oh man, I'm such a jerk. You know, I'm like the worst person. I'm like the person I don't like the most. That person, I'm it. So I just was like, this is amazing stuff. This gives you access to something. And I watched the leader work with people, and he just cut through. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe how direct he was, how he'd say things that were like shocking, and they'd turn out to be accurate, you know, about this person. And now, how do you get to be like that? So I went to speak to the leader after one of the programs. How do you get to be a leader? He said, well, you do this course, this course, this course, and then you move to London, you work for the company, and then and then we can interview you. And I went, okay. I said, well, would you support me? I think I could do this. He goes, yeah, sure. So we shook hands. And he was still my mentor when I left 21 years later. So then I go and do the training, which means, you know, you go off to the States, you do like a month's training where you learn all the material of the main program called the Forum, right? So I did all that training, no sleep. It's called the intensive because it's super intense. But I was like, it's not that intense, you know. I've done officer training twice in a row.
Yeah.
Brought up delivering milk as a kid in Yorkshire when it's raining and snowing. This is actually, I mean, yeah, okay, it's intense. Not really. So I kind of breezed through that. And then they put you on a probationary period. You've got to lead 20 programs, and there's ways that they measure the effectiveness. You know, how many people leave during the program? How many guests do they bring on the final night, you know, from their own life? How many people sign up for the next program? You know, there's ways to measure how effective you've led the program. And I was like, on, off, on, off, on, off. And it gets down to the very last of these 20 programs. And it's all on the line. This program has to turn out, otherwise I'm out of a job, right? And they scheduled me in a place called Van Nuys, which is north of Los Angeles. So it's a satellite location. And no one had led an effective program there they couldn't remember, since before records began. And then one of the main barriers was if they wanted to do the advanced program, they'd have to drive all the way into Los Angeles, which, distance-wise should take you about 40 minutes. In reality, it could take you 3 to 5 hours because of the traffic. I mean, it's just standstill traffic in Los Angeles, right? So they weren't interested. So it was a bit of a challenge. And then my coaches turn up the night before and said, well, we've got no coaching for you because you're going to just do whatever you do. Whatever we say, you'll just end up doing what you do. So, we'll see on Wednesday if you're still a leader. And hung up. I was like, shit, I've tried everything. I've tried to be what they said. I've tried to not be like myself. I've tried to do this. I've tried to do that. Okay, fine. Fuck it. I'm just going to go out and love these people. I'm going to love them and support them, empower them, and just do whatever I can to, have them have transformations. So I went out, and the program was a completely out of the park, off the scale results. It was amazing. People brought like 3 times the normal amount of people that normally would bring to one of these final sessions. It was something like, it was way over. It was like in the 50 percentile people registered in the advanced course, so it was just amazing. It was amazing, and it's like the same old lesson, I got with it, be yourself. Stop trying to be what you think you're supposed to be like. And, that's the work. The work is stop pretending, or at least catch yourself when you're pretending. People are pretending and pretending they're not pretending. So the only time you're not pretending is when you're being authentic about when you're pretending. You're actually saying, look, I'm pretending I've got it all handled here, and I don't have it all handled, or, I'm thinking I'm all cool when I don't know it. I don't know anything,
Yeah.
People don't do that. People have to pretend they've got it all together, or they have to pretend that they're supposed to be a certain way. And I just led a 4-day program in Cairo, and people are terrified about what others might think. But the real thing is, I learned along the way, it's not what other people think that you're worried about. It's what you think they think. That's the problem.
Yeah. And that starts in the teenage years, isn't it? When you are developing, like you are in the process, and then all of a sudden, the other's opinion. What is the other, like? What are they thinking about me? Oh, they are probably thinking I'm shite.
Yeah.
Or worse.
Whatever. Yeah.
And you are just like, how do you know what? Yeah, how do you know that what they are thinking when you don't speak to them or whatever? I just want to give a Christy from Florida shout out. She came on and said hello from Florida.
Right.
So if I do my calculations correctly, you have been doing this since 1999 because 27 years then, or is it?
I started working at the Landmark in 90. I think it was earlier than that. It was 97, I think I did my first program. So what's that? That's 28 years, right?
Yeah, but when did you go rogue and just when did you become Will Steele coaching?
Yeah, so in the pandemic, right, there's no more live programs. So the company didn't need so many leaders because there's nothing to lead. There's no live, it was all live programs, right? So they decided to go online, and because they're online, they can have bigger courses and whatever. It was just this opportunity for me to leave. So they made me redundant, actually. And it was interesting because I did this, what we call a deathbed exercise. I found it online and did this, and I took it on board. I'm going to do that. So I did this deathbed exercise, which you imagine you're at the end of your life and you're lying on your bed. And so you lie on your bed and you pretend, you've got your family around, you're awake, but you don't want to have to look at them. So your eyes are closed, right? And then you just got to really imagine, really create. There's no tomorrow. There's no later. This is it, about to die. And look into your experience. Do you have any regrets? It's if anybody's listening, it's very, very powerful if you really do it seriously. Like, imagine I am about to die. Look into your body. Are there any feelings of regret? Anything? And when I first looked, what initially came up was, oh, I never learned to speak Italian. And my ex-wife is Italian. They moved to Italy. I would go once a month to Italy and see them. And I never really learned the language. I can get by, but I never really learned it. So that was a regret. And then, I've owned guitars on and off over the years, but never really mastered it. Never really learned to play. So I could just play whatever I was thinking. Never learned to play an instrument. So that was another regret. And then there was nothing. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm just so super trained. I've been trained and, I don't have any regrets. But there was something, and I just couldn't see what it was. So I did one of the techniques we're doing when I'm leading people. You start the sentence and then finish the sentence, and we'll see. So I said, okay, what I regret is, and what I said was, what I regret is not having the courage to leave Landmark. Oh, man. That means I'm going to spend at least the next 30 years doing something just because I'm too scared to leave. Oh, man. This is like inauthentic, right? I'm doing it not because I love it or I want to do it. I'm doing it because I'm scared if I leave, what am I going to do? Am I going to survive? And wow. That is a dilemma. However, within 48 hours, I had this call with the management, said, we have to get rid of people. So I'm so sorry, we're going to have to get rid of you, make you redundant. It was like, you can't do it. Here's the universe going, well, there you go. And similar. Then it was like, well, that's it. I was in my kitchen and I said, that's it. I am never going to work for an organization again. I am not. I am going to be my master of my own destiny. I'm going to create my life. And that's how it's been since.
It's just the same was like I am just because in 2020, I have said I became a chief happiness officer. I went to a course in Denmark in December 2019, and when I came home, like my wife greeted me at the airport, and I was like the old cassette player. She just pushed the button, and I started blah 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 because she asked me how was it, and I just talked, and then after some minutes, he was just like, okay, pause a little bit, like time out. Are you in a cult now? And I was like, no, because it was such an it was such an eye opener, not an O opener, but an eye opener. And yes. 4 days it took about how you would look at work and happiness at work or whatever. And then I was thinking about in January 2020 what I should do. And then some things happened, and I was just like, no. And with the support of my wife, because I had been there where you were, who wants to hire years before, like, who wants to hire a 48-year-old guy who has been blah, 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 all of these self-talk, self-harm thingies. And I was on fire when I like handed in my resignation letter. And I was offered 10 or 15 times to retract it. Nope. So I quit at 1st of June in 2020. And then, of course, COVID came and everything. So you get a little bit like goink because COVID was not, you did not expect that to come. But since I have, it's just, I don't know. It's just when you realize that you can't do this because you are afraid, because there is this fear in you, isn't it?
Yep.
Because you are brought up with that if you don't have a job, then you're nothing. If you don't have an education, then you are nothing. It is just like this belief systems that follow us. Whereas in my line of work, because I am a social educator, I always said, like, you will just relax, you will find your path, and then you will be awesome in what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what did you then? Okay, then came COVID, and you were like wherever you were, and you just
people said it's not a good time to start a business. No one's want to spend money because they don't know how long this is going to last, and people are getting laid off their jobs, and people are being on what do they call that? They call it furloughed. So you're not going to find clients. It's not a good time to start a business. I went, they're out there somewhere. They're out there somewhere. I had a client in China. I had a client in Australia, 2 clients in Australia. I had America, several clients. You know, it's quite amazing when you just get like, no, it's going this way. You know, so all my training came to the fore. You know, and I just reached out to people who messaged me on Facebook, people who commented on my posts. Hey, how you doing? What is it you do? All right, we should have a call. Let's get on a call, you know, and literally created a business from nothing.
Yeah.
And here I am 6 years later. 6 years later, gone from strength to strength, you know, written my own book. I've got my own podcast. I'm leading programs in the Middle East. I got some super interesting clients. I've coached people who are just unbelievable what they're up to on the planet. Obviously, I can't tell you who they are. I mean, one guy wants to be the prime minister of his country and he's serious about it, you know. So I'm coaching, and what I've created for myself is I want to make the biggest impact I can. So if I can coach the people who have the biggest influence in the world to do good in the world, to do authentic, what really lights them up and will light other people up, I get to make more and more of a difference with what I'm doing. So as long as all that's aligned, it has integrity, you know?
Yeah. So we talked like when we were after we had our pre-chat, and I like we thought like, then the topic that came out like the hidden cost of being indispensable. So how is it? Because you have had the epiphany twice, 3 times, 4 times, where when because this thing about when now I have been doing this for 6 years and I have not been as successful as you. Like I don't know. At first I was just like, no, I'm just a tiny guy from Iceland. Uh, why should I? But when people come to you and say, no, you should do it like this. Why is it that we listen to them? Like when you were at the officers thingy,
Yeah.
and they said to you, and you realized that you were doing quite the opposite of what you wanted to be or how you would do it, like because why is it that we do this? Why do we tend to listen not to our own voice but rather to somebody else? And like
Well,
because I know it's a big question. I know it because, well, if you had listened to the other ones, then you would probably not be a officer. You would probably not be a pilot, isn't it? Like there are some consequences also if you take that route.
so what's the
You may
question?
speak. Yeah, just
Well,
like why when is it when you do? Why is it that we is it because like don't we recognize our inner voice in those
well,
situations?
well, the problem is that what you call your inner voice, the brain's very good at tricking you, right? So the brain wants you
Yeah.
to survive. So the brain, I mean, you think you're running your life. It's actually the brain. They've done this research, and I'm not an expert in this, but I've done
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
study in this, been to lectures on this, and you know, there's research that you can scan the brain and you can see the activity in the brain. So before you actually reach for, let's say, for this glass, right? Before I reach for this glass, it looks like, oh, I want to drink of water. But up to 7 seconds before that happened, the brain scanned that, seen that, tested it out. All the muscles are getting ready to make that move to grab that glass and bring it to you. Zero point 0.7, about half a second to 7 seconds, you have a thought, oh, I like some water. But the brain's already been planning it, right? Getting ready to do it. And you just get this thought from the brain as a courtesy to give you the actual impression that you are actually running the show. But
Uh-huh.
actually, what's running the show is your brain. And we don't know that. So if you listen to the brain science, it's like, I'm not running my life. My brain is. But your brain is listening to everything. The environment, it's scanning the environment for threats, it's scanning the environment for opportunities. It's like aware. And it's processing it all, including what you say. It hears what you say. So your access is what you say. What you say, your brain can hear, and that can actually alter things. Now, the problem is when you listen to your thoughts, it's all automatic. But it's the con is, and how it really, really occurs is like, that's me talking. So you have a thought called, I'm not sure about that. Is that true? I don't know if that's true. Is that right? I don't know if it's right. No, that's wrong. Is it wrong? I don't know. Why are they saying that? I mean, you can be in a conversation like that, and then, an hour's gone by, and you don't realize. You think it's you talking. It's automatic. And to distinguish that from you takes some training, takes some
And that
invention.
yeah, so that is the good segue to your book, because and as you say, you are in front of thousands of people, and they say like they want to throw eggs and whatever. Then on the third day they just like, oh crap, this is so true. So how, how is it that does your book come into a exercises or whatever, like you, because you mentioned in the video that the book is like the first half and then the second half,
Yes.
or how so do you have any trainings to do? Because I can concur with your this, like, oh yeah, no, and you are all of a sudden you haven't got a clue what you were thinking about in the first time
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
started this.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I lead live programs in the Middle East, mostly in Cairo, it seems recently, but I've led in Morocco, in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, in Dubai. And obviously, when you're leading a program, you can get people to really get it, right? And then they get it. And then once they've got it, they've got it. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. You can tell people how to ride a bike, but that doesn't give them balance. They have to, wobble around and fall off and get back and finally discover it. And whoa, that's it. And the moment they've got it forever because they discovered it. So the trick is to have people discover what we're talking about rather than just talk about it. So how do you do that with a book, which is my dilemma? How do I get them to get that just from reading? I've read lots of books. I can't even remember, that book. Oh, wasn't that about? Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah. Maybe a point, not transformed your life. So how am I going to get this? So I have to put exercises in. There has to be exercises in this book so that people can actually do the work. And you have to do the work. If you don't do the work, it's still a good book and you still get good insights and all of that. But will it transform you? Unlikely. What you do is the exercise and it goes deeper and you see things for yourself. So, I want millions of people to read that book. But what I've discovered is it's not that easy to get people to both buy a book and read it, So that's up to them, obviously. Quite a lot of people have read it. It's an international bestseller, but I'm not satisfied with that. Maybe I need to change the title. Maybe I need to, repackage it or something, because I want people to get the access to this freedom where you can really be free of the automatics of being human and the limiting beliefs that you don't realize are there.
It's fantastic to think about. Two things that I thought, like, did you come up with a name for the book, or
Yes.
was it okay? So, but did the publishers, did they say, "Oh no, you should"? Did they doubt your choice?
No. It's just it's a very specific niche, leadership, and it's a very competitive niche. So you're not making it easy for yourself, right? But I wrote the book for the people in the Middle East. They don't know me. I'm this white guy, don't speak Arabic. Why should they listen to me? It's hard enough for people from the West to understand what I'm doing. How do they understand what I'm doing? I mean, like, it's like brand new, foreign, out of their sphere, So I need to write a book. You know, that's what I need to write a book so they can get to know me, what it is I'm trying to get across, and then come and do the program, for crying out loud. We're transforming the leadership of the Middle East here. We're not just, you know, doing programs for money. I mean, you know, I just flew from Costa Rica to Germany. That's a 12-hour leg. And then from Germany to Manchester in the north of England, got my stuff, got back on the plane, flew to Frankfurt, then Frankfurt to Cairo to lead a program in Cairo. Cairo sounds exotic and exciting, but actually the reality of it, it's very busy, very noisy, very dirty because of the dust from the desert mostly.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying anything bad about
No,
the people.
I get you. Yeah.
You know, but it's like a lot of hard work. Why are we doing that? Because it makes a difference. And now I got the book, and it's now just actually being translated into Arabic. So it's about to come out in Arabic, and that's really who I wrote the book for initially. But then I realized, like, it's for everybody. It's for everybody. Everybody should have access to this, because people don't have access to it. Oh, unless you go on a program, you know, and then you've only got it during the program. Whereas if you've got a book, you can go back to it. You can reread that chapter. You could read that book 10 times and still get value. You could read it 100 times and still get value. Every time I lead a program, I'm in the program myself and seeing things about myself I didn't see before.
But how is it? Because, okay, when you are reading a book and then comes the exercise, and
Yes.
you can be very like, oh no, I can't go that deep, right? Because if you don't have some, like Will Steele in present and says, no, you have to go deeper, because you are like, oh, you are maybe under a blanket and you are, oh, I'm doing this exercise, oh no, I don't want to go as deep as he is asking me to do. Like, how is it, are, because you say it's difficult to get people to read books nowadays. And maybe it's difficult when they are reading books that they have to, and now you have to go out and run 5 miles. No, I don't. I can just skip that and go to the next chapter or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So how is it then when you meet the people, and like, it must be so rewarding for you to see those, now I get it. Even
Well,
though that you have been.
I'll tell you a funny story, right? So I wrote the book, and then and part of the process for me writing the book is I read it out loud, and I read it out so I can hear it. I can hear what it's saying. Does it land? Is it me? Is it going to, you know, like I'm leading a program?
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I'm going to do the audiobook because I want it to be, you know, it's me talking to you, you know, so you get it. So I went and did the audiobook. Anyway, my dad likes audiobooks. I got him into audiobooks because he doesn't like reading. You know, he's 86 and he finds it hard to read. So I got him into audiobooks. He's been listening to all these audiobooks. So he got my audiobook. And I'm up here where I am right now, literally where I am right now in the bedroom. This is where I do the work when I'm working and I'm staying with them. And I could hear, because he has it very loud because his hearing's not great, my audiobook going downstairs. And we get to the funny story early on in the book. We said, you know, one of my first major things that happened, that I made a major decision about my life, was when I was 3 years old. And my dad's telling the story of how I came along. He says, you know, the whole family's there. He said, you know, we couldn't afford a third baby. And then mum got pregnant. And then we thought, well, it'd be nice to have a little girl this time. And we were looking forward to a little girl. And you popped out. You should have been a girl. And everyone's laughing, except me. You see, what I heard, what I made that mean was they didn't want me in the first place. And what they really wanted was a girl. Right. I'm the best. And it's like this angry determination to prove I'm the best, which is what my life was about from that moment. Now, that's a whole other. I'm listening to my dad hear that. Like, I'm listening to my dad. I'm saying that story. And then he goes, I never said that. I never said that. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to have a heart attack. I better go down and see him, right? So I go downstairs. And he said, I never said that. I never said that. I never said that. I said, Dad, look, it's not what happened. It's what you made it mean at the time. So you might not have said that. That's what I remembered. That's what I remembered. That's what I remember hearing. That's what I made it mean. I made it mean all that. You didn't do anything. You could have said something completely different. It doesn't matter. It's what I did with it over here. That's what my life turned out like. That's the whole point. Oh, well, okay. I said, apart from that, how are you finding the book? He said, I'm disturbed. I said, what? I'm disturbed. It's disturbing. I don't like this. Ugh. Okay. Anyway, I go away and we call on video conference, right? And I'm talking to him and he says, I did it. I said, what? He said, I did it. I said, what? He said, I told your brother for the first time in my life, I told him I love him. I said, really? Come on, tell me, what did you say? He said, I went to, he said, it was very difficult. I said, it's actually not easy. I said, I know. Believe you me, I know. I said, what did you say? He says, well, I want you to know, I love you. I said, oh, wow. What did he say? Huh? I said, what did he say? He said, I should think you do and all. Can you imagine these two my brother's in his 60s, right? So imagine these two guys in the blooming Yorkshire sitting in this room, because my brother used to go around and they didn't talk. I mean, my brother always went round to see him once a week, but they never talked. It was like this frosty relationship, because my brother thinks my dad doesn't really like him. My dad doesn't understand why my brother is the way he is. And it's actually no mystery, but, him saying that was like a miracle. And now I call him a week later, and there's all this laughing in the background, all this joviality, right? What's going on? He said, oh, your brother's round. My brother has transformed. My brother is not the same person. He comes around here, he's happy. He comes around here, he's talkative. It wasn't like that before. He'd come around and go like, watch television, have a cup of tea, and then leave. See, that family, which happens to be my family, has transformed just because he took one action having read the book. That's only one action. And it's had that impact. So I know the book works.
And that is, yes, because your father's generation, like he is 10, my father was 10 years older. And what my parents, they did not tell you was that I had to hear stuff,
Yes.
at funerals. Oh, your
Right.
father says, says, or when I was working, I had to go through a practice period of 3 months, and the school in Denmark, they decided that I had to go to a kindergarten because the kids would tell and teach me how to speak Danish, like help me and evolve and stuff.
Yes.
And when my wife, she came for Easter holiday, and then she came back, and then all of a sudden he rings and said, what is it that your wife is telling me? And I said, Dad, like there are thousands of miles between us. And he went, just say it. Are you working in a kindergarten? Yes. Go into your room, pack your stuff, and you will come home tomorrow. It was not posh enough for him to say that I was working in a kindergarten. Then, 1st of August, same year, I started working with people who were schizophrenic, mano-depressive, and it was just like the world had shifted, because my wife heard that he was just walking around. Yeah, he is working with a mentally challenged. Yes, yes. But he never said it to me, because those generations, because they never knew. He was part of, they were 9 siblings. But maybe my grandmother had more, but they never talked about it, because you never spoke about death, or you couldn't love a little human being because that little human being could die at 5. So it's lovely to hear. It's basically say the bloody things that you want to say to a person.
Yeah. And even if it's difficult, like it's awkward, or you feel a bit stupid, or you're embarrassed, say it anyway, because you can't necessarily say it tomorrow. You don't know if they're going to be here or not.
Yes, or the person could be like they won't be here tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I have led enough programs, I remember leading in Montreal, and this lady came with her daughter to me at the micro. I was sitting at the front of the room, right? It was towards the end of the Sunday, so it's all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and it's towards the end of the Sunday night. She came to me and said, "We've got some bad news. I mean, I was going to tell my husband, her father, we're going to tell him, go home and tell him we love him." So we weren't going to do what you asked us to do, which was phone up and say it on the phone. Don't wait. Because you do that, then the next thing opens up. You do the next action, and the next thing opens up. Don't wait till after the program. That's like reading the book and not doing the exercises,
Yeah.
And they couldn't because he died. They found out, they had a phone call that he died. So they never got to say in person that they loved him. And that's what they got it from the course. They wanted to do that. They need to do that. They're going to do that. They just didn't do it. They want to do it their way. They want to do it when they go home, which is all reasonable. But people don't live life like, no, this is urgent. This is urgent right now. You do not know they're going to be there when you get home. You don't, oh, see them at Christmas. You don't know that. Nobody's expecting that car crash. Nobody's expecting that heart attack. Nobody's expecting, whatever. So, if one thing people could get from listening to this is, look, life is urgent. Life is right now. It's not later. There's no life later. It's all now. You're in the moment, and this is what you got.
And it must have been felt good for you to realize that if it makes an impact on a guy who is born in 1939, I hope it's okay to reveal his birth year, but like that he says to his son, "I love you." That must also, like, well, okay, so my book is doing something.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, for me, it's just great. See, I tried to coach my brother, right, and failed miserably. It's just not. See, if somebody's not ready, they won't listen, right? And he hasn't been ready. But since that happened, we've had conversations that are like amazing. Like sharing, why my dad never had a good relationship with him. Well, he's kind of blamed him that he had to get married, like it's the baby's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Classic. Yeah.
Not the baby's fault. I mean, but we had this conversation of that. Well, and it's not it. And I wanted him to get that's not personal though. It doesn't mean it resented you. It's that he had to get married. He
it's
says,
the situation.
Yeah. So my brother is opened up and become just so much greater for me to be around than he used to be.
And has it affected his life? Like, does he have a kids that he?
Yeah.
Because I have told my kids, and I told my wife in the beginning, like we have been together for 40 years, and I said to her, when we get kids, I will always tell them that I love them before they go to sleep, and then I will tell them I love you when they go to school in the morning or to work, and I still do it. They are 25. I still do it, because I don't want them to think that I don't love them.
Well,
so it is very important to speak out your mind.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Say you love people. That is the biggest hurdle. So does your brother tell his kids that he loves them, or had he done that, or did he start doing it when your father opened up on that?
I don't know. I haven't inquired into that. I was speaking to my niece and nephew recently at a wedding, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. They wanted to know all about me and what I do, and when I was in the Air Force, and they were great. They were great, and they've got a great relationship with their father, my brother. I mean, really, really good. They really hold him in high regard. So whatever he's doing, it's working in their relationship.
Yeah. But how is it? Because time flies when you're having fun. Will.
Yes.
We have 5 minutes left, and you have been talking about. It's like you are never in the same place for more than 1 week. You have been talking about Montreal, you have been talking about Cairo, you have been talking about Morocco, Costa Rica has come up. Like you have been everywhere, it sounds.
Well,
So when
I've only been to 60 countries as far as I could work out the other day. I tried to go
okay,
through it all.
yeah, and we thank him for this chat because now he's just bragging. But yeah, woo.
Well,
But
I've not been
how
everywhere. I've not been everywhere. I've got places on my places I still want to go and see. I still want to go to Japan. I want to see the Great Wall of China, but not much else. Actually, there's not much else grabs me at the moment. You know, you go to places and they're pretty much fairly similar to other places. You know, once you've done a lot of traveling, it's the people I love, getting to know different cultures. Still enjoy that.
that is my question. The different cultures. Are we is it just the same? Or are there difference? Do you sense a difference between people in Montreal and Cairo, and people in Manchester and Montreal? Like, what is it that the commonality is? Maybe that nobody believes what you're saying, or like, what is it that you, in your experience, what is it? Are there cultural differences
Oh, there's
in
big cultures.
thinking? Well, there is culture, but this we are talking about the brain, like because that there is the belief system, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, it doesn't matter where you go. I've led in Africa, I've led in Montreal, as you said, I've led in New York, I've led in Los Angeles. I mean, you just go from one city to the next, and it's a different culture. I'm telling you, if it's Boston, they're very different to New York. And you go to New York, you go to Philadelphia, different again. You go to Washington D.C., completely different. You know, so you don't have to go far to be a different culture. So for two, you know, for at least the first 2 days, you know, you're kind of understanding that because you got to know who's listening to you to be able to speak and actually have any impact. If you're not responsible for how they're listening to you, you're not going to make a difference with them. But after about 2 days, you get underneath all of that and you just find out we're all the same. And for me, that was such a relief. I mean, I thought I was better than people. I thought I was different, you know, superior. But actually, it was a relief to get I'm just the same as everybody else, which is what happens when you're in the kind of programs that I lead. You know, at some point we've all got the same fears, not precisely worded language the same exactly, but fundamentally the same kind of fears, the same kind of automatic ways that we think. You know, the language might be different, but the automaticness of it is very similar. So you get underneath, we're literally, and people say it in songs and poetry and all that stuff, we're all the same underneath. People say it, but they just say it. But when you actually have experienced it and you get, they are the same, whether it's Thailand or it's Nairobi or it's New York. I mean, when you get underneath all the facade, all the pretending, all the, you know, having to be a certain way because of what you think of people are thinking and blah, blah, blah. When you get rid of all of that, underneath, we're fundamentally the same. Human being is beautiful. Human being is limitless. It's the people that are the problem.
Yeah, yeah. And we have a lot of people who are just very much a problem today. But because we have to, like, we only have a minute, and I have to go through some stuff. So your book, Free to Lead: Unleash Your Hidden Leadership Genius. Oh, okay, I need to. That was way too quick. So Free to Lead:
Yeah.
Unleash Your Hidden Leadership Genius. You
Yes.
can buy that on Amazon and wherever you can buy books, and then you
Yes.
can get it on Audible, or like, because I have to get it and listen to it because now I am excited.
Yeah. Yeah. The Audible book has sold more than any other format, I believe, which is, it's good because it's like being in a program if you put it on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and you have a little more freedom to like
Yeah.
add or something. Yeah. So it has been fantastic, but I have to mention that people can find you,
Yes.
and you will correct this if it's not correct. So you can find Will on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram
Yeah.
under Will Steele, I gather.
Will Steele Coaching.
Ooh, Will Steele Coaching. So
And
you
my
will know, like,
website is willsteele.com. So it's Will Steele, all one word,
hey,
willsteele.com.
time out, time out, time out. It's all under control. You don't have to take over because here it is, willsteele.com. Don't take my thunder, boy. I like it is all in the segues. And then you can follow hands-on coaching on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify because I have to talk about myself, isn't it? Because it's not under my name. But people, I have been visited his website and it's fantastic. There are so much stuff there. It's just like stuff, and it's good to look at. And they can be in touch with you on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
sure. For sure. Well,
Are you?
I don't have a lot of spaces to coach people at the moment. I'm kind of full, but you could get in touch. You could fill out an application. We could put you on the waiting list. So if you are interested and you're serious, reach out to me, willsteele.com, and we'll start a conversation.
Yeah. Well, let's see what there goes because if your father could do it, and he did it for free.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. My dad's great. He did the previous program too. He's like one of the only
Yeah.
people in my life that actually did it. And
What
massive
about
break.
your mom?
No, I was too scared.
Yeah, yeah. There could be some skeletons,
Yeah, too
but she doesn't
scared.
want to
Yeah,
look.
well, that's right. She doesn't want to look at the past. She doesn't want to this. She doesn't want to that. And that's where people get frightened off. Whereas, yes, it might be a little daunting to do that, but once you do it, the other side is a freedom you didn't even know existed.
Yeah. Oh, that was brilliant sentence. I need to write that down if I remember it. But next week I will be talking like next inspiring conversation is with Christian de la Huerta, and that is on Thursday, the 16th of July. And we are going to talk about when power stops being about control, reclaiming authentic power in relationships, leaderships, and life. And he has also, like you, an interesting story because that is what is inspiring. And you have just been a wonderful guest, Will. And I think that you have opened my eyes because I am curious and I am interested and I
Mm,
want to be inspired and I want to be audacious.
great.
And
Great.
just thank you very much
Thank
for
you for
being
having
on.
me and thank you for the conversation. I appreciate you.
Welcome.